almost 10 years ago, almost to the day, I was living in Falmouth in Cornwall, and I was studying for a master's degree. It wasn't very enjoyable. I was very stressed. I had kind of had a breakdown. I was seeing a counsellor. All the mindfulness and meditation in the world didn't seem to help me. I felt very stuck, very lost. And one day I went out and I saw a concert that was being held, and it was great fun. And I came home, I went to sleep, and I had a dream. You know, you sleep, you have dreams, so I had some dreams. I woke up from that dream, you know, about 9 o'clock. Went to study in the library at the university, and then around about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock later that day, I spontaneously woke up from a different kind of dream. I suddenly woke up from the dream of being somebody called Mike, of being a separate, limited self that I had to protect, that I had to plan for, that I had to, cater for. I woke up from the idea of time, that there was a past which held my identity. I woke up from the idea that there was a future which I was moving into, and therefore it's scary because you have to, look after yourself moving into that future. It all fell away. The word I use is that it all collapsed, like that. In a heartbeat, the whole thing collapsed. And all that was left was this right now, this moment, okay? So that was great. That was great because about 30 years of conditioning fell away in less than 3 seconds. The whole mic structure just fell down, gone. That was also quite interesting and remarkable because for at least maybe 15 of those 30 years, I had tried my hardest to get enlightened. That was my goal. Because I was brought up with it. It was my dad was a Buddhist monk, so I had an exemplar. So I tried my best to become enlightened. So I meditated a lot, because you're not going to get enlightened if you don't meditate. Rule number 1. I'm joking, by the way. You're not going to get enlightened unless you do hardcore Ashtanga yoga. So I did a lot of things to get enlightened, and some of them were really useful. But others I tried and I tried and I tried, and I just didn't feel like I was moving forward at all. So I did things like bathed ceremoniously in the Ganges. Okay, I dipped myself in the Ganges, and I thought that would help me. I got really bad food poisoning. I was probably as sick as I've ever been doing that. And there was an Indian guy standing next to me, a Baba, an old Indian holy man, watching me. And he said, "You're going in?" And I said, "Yeah." And he went, "White man I never see." So anyway, I went in, but I got really sick from that. I went to Pakistan, and I almost tried to be a Muslim, a Sufi. That was a real pull for me, with Sufism. So I prayed. I wasn't a Muslim, but I joined in. We did zikr, the chanting, with the beads. I thought that would help. I visited, holy people, gurus, all of which were really useful. I started listening to podcasts and reading books, but there was a common theme in the people I was drawn to. I wasn't really drawn to the people, and there are so many, that say, "You don't have it. You don't have it. You're not pure. You're not holy. I am, and I know the way. Follow me. Here's the tick list. Here's what you need to do. Here's your new clothes. Here's your new name. Here's the special chant that only you know. Here's the secret technique that only we have." That kind of wasn't, it just didn't make sense to me. I didn't think reality was that kind of Machiavellian. Like there's a secret way and only you will find out. I thought it was far more kind of communal and obvious. That was my trust. So I didn't really go towards those people, and I tended to be attracted to grumpy old men and women that just said, "Well, it's this. You're it. Full stop. What more do you want me to do? I can't zap you. you know. So they were the people. There's some chairs in the middle there. There's some chairs at the front. So yeah, they were the people I was attracted to. Not the people that gave me a whole long list of things to do. So, and for a long time when I would listen to these people, it was a bit like when people start talking to me about football, and it's like a different language, and I'm just not getting it. You know, I'm like, it's not going in, nothing's sticking. And it was the same with these teachers, because my mind will be waiting and listening, saying, yeah, but what do I do? Yeah, but what do I do? Yeah, but you haven't told me the meditation technique. What do you mean this is it? Yeah? What do I do? So I'd be listening to these whole talks and satsangs and, you know, by these people, and at the end I'd think, well, I don't know anything of what I've just heard, because there was nothing for my mind to grab hold of and go, Mike, we've got it. Let's go away quickly and we'll do this. 10 hours a day. There was just, they were giving me nothing. Nothing. And it took me a long time, almost like to kind of soak and stew and slowly absorb that message that maybe there's nothing to do. Maybe this is already it. Now, that's the easiest, most simple pointer, you know. But we've been so conditioned in our culture to ignore the obvious, ignore the apparent, because it's too simple, it's too easy. So in our material lives, we have to climb the ladder, we have to buy the next, you know, big thing, and we keep going on that treadmill. And we sort of take that mind into our spirituality. So if you know me, you will know that I am in no way a spiritual person, even though I've, you know, done fairly spiritual things. I've never defined myself as a spiritual person at all. I don't tend to kind of associate with spiritual groups of people. I'm not religious. I teach mindfulness. And then people say, oh, but you're a Buddhist. And I say, no. And they say, well, what are you? I say, I don't know. And neither do you. Wow. So, yeah, but that's hard to get, is that this is it. It's the most simple thing, because I can see people smiling even when I say that. Because what you get from that is, there's a part of you that just knows that that's true. It must be that obvious. It must be that simple that, of course, this is it. It's on show right now. It is it and you are it. Full stop. But the mind says, nah, can't be. It can't be me. I can't be an expression of total reality, perfect and complete and whole. Including the full spectrum of being a human. The good, the bad, the ugly. All of that can't be it, you know, because it's not all nice, it's not all pleasant. And so what we do is we tend to spend decades, sometimes a whole lifetime, in the woods, searching for the trees. That's what we do. We're searching for the trees. Where are the trees? Have you found the trees yet? No, but I've got a special technique that I use, and one day, hopefully, there'll be a thunderbolt, and I go, the trees. All the while missing the trees. So we walk around looking for reality, or God, or, you know, whatever word the nothingness, the, whatever word you want for it. And the funny, tragic, you know, freeing discovery is that you're searching for it within it. Even the search is an expression of it. It's it searching for itself. And so we miss that because, you know, look around. We're in a hay barn. There's stones. You're sitting here. You might be hungry. You might be thinking, what the hell is he talking about? You know, this is fairly mundane, this is ordinary. So we just ignore it. And we want to skip ahead to maybe a certain talk today, or maybe when I go on that yoga retreat, or maybe when I have a certain kind of experience, the Enlightenment experience. And every experience you will ever have will only do one thing: pass away. Okay, you're not going to have some kind of constant, amazing, blissed out experience that that's it from now, you know. I've shifted up a gear. I am now in that kind of mode forever. Because it's experience. Experience does what experience does. Good, bad, ugly. You know, this is why people say, oh, suddenly I got it and I was totally blissed out and everything made sense, and then I woke up and it's gone. What did I do wrong? Why did I lose it? No, you didn't lose it. This is still it. You know, it looks like this too. It's infinite. It can be anything. It's every moment. Good, bad, ugly. That's how rich and powerful and infinite and, you know, creative the universe is. You know. So if we think it's going to be a certain experience, then we're kind of putting ourselves in trouble, because we'll latch onto it and it will pass. And I did that. I had this massive collapse experience, this insight, where everything fell away, and all that was left was, at the time, what I called awareness. Everything was awareness, experiencing itself, knowing itself as Mike. And the relief there was that I didn't need to get rid of Mike. That's a big thing in spirituality as well, is like, get rid of yourself, the ego, you. Take your old name away, because that's mundane, and call yourself Sri something or other, you know? Or here's the special name that you'll get enlightened with, because your old name was rubbish. Well, you're a Michael and I'm a Michael, so you've all got Christian names, you know? Well, if you look at what that name means, it probably means something fairly, you know, fairly lovely and even spiritual and holy. You know, Michael is something like he who is like God, which isn't bad, as names go, you know. But even your own mundane name is not mundane. But we think, get rid of that and I'll become someone else. And we get trapped in that becoming. When will you ever become, you know, enough so you can go, I can stop? And so what I'm kind of talking about here is the understanding or the trust, maybe, that it's here, it's this, it's your next breath, it's the next sound you'll hear, you know, it's the next moment that will pop up. Where does the next moment pop up from? And yet, here it is. What do you have to do to make this moment disappear? Nothing, it's just happened. So on one hand, every single moment is just passing away by itself. And yet, the next moment, the next sound, the next thought, the next moment of the universe. So this is where we live. It's not ordinary. It's not ordinary. It's not something worth skipping to wait for the next big thing. This is the Big Bang right now, and it looks like this, and it tastes like this, and it feels like this. So, but that's the thing we avoid, because our mind always has bigger and better ideas about how we should feel. So after I had my experience, which was 10 years ago, in Zen they sometimes say don't talk for about 10 years after your Satori experience. So everything settled down. I had this experience, it lasted nearly an hour. And the nice thing about these experiences are, sometimes people will say to me, oh, I had this, or I felt this. Is that it? Do you think that's it? Is that it? When you have it, you do not need to ask someone if it's it. It's raw, direct knowing. You just know. You're like, this is it. It's unquestionable. It's so direct that it just goes slap. This is it. Of course it is. You know. And they say the realization often comes with laughter, which was my experience. So yeah, I had this experience, and then it faded. I got the bus home, and by the time I got home, you know, everything was, I was cooking dinner, I was watching Strictly Come Dancing, everything was just normal again. But something was missing. And what was missing was Mike. Mike was gone. Now, what I mean is, what I thought I was, that structure, that person, protect him, look after him, get him enlightened, gone. Because he never really existed. Never, not really. There's nothing substantial about that character. You know. So everything carried on in a very ordinary way. The difference was, I was no longer there, and all that remained was the fact that I was in love with everything. And still am. That has calmed down a little bit. which is nice because I would cry at the bubbles in my coffee, I would cry at the guy in the street, and I'm serious, it was all too much. The beauty of the slightest thing was heartbreaking, you know? And that's what the awakening is. It's a total heart smash, it's heartbreaking. You break open. It's openness. You know, before we stay closed and tight and nothing's getting in and I'm holding back, imagine that boundary just, there's just sheer openness, you know, where everything you experience is yourself in a sense, so that you're no longer apart from anything, which is lovely. So it's heartbreaking. So that's calmed down, and then of course you have children. Now, you know, if you thought you were enlightened or awakened before kids, then you have kids. There's a whole new flavour to that, you know, because a different part of your brain wakes up. So what I kind of want to get across is that, certainly from my experience, there's not a kind of shift into permanent enlightenment, permanent, nothing will ever trouble me, permanent, this is it now, full stop. Because I can reflect and realise that hasn't really happened. There's kind of been a growth of understanding, and that has been developed by having children. That's been developed by being in a relationship, you know. And how enlightened are you in that argument? Can you be the openness in that argument and kind of just let that criticism, or, you know, can you let it in? Because there's no one there. You can afford to let that information in. Or do we clamp up and say no? You know, does the me return in that moment to defend? Defend what? So this is like an ongoing exploration, an ongoing path. And we don't really know what's next, you know. I had no idea what I was going to say at this talk. These words just, you know, they come out. I have no idea what the next moment contains. Neither do you, neither does anybody, okay? So this is the exploration. Every moment is the big bang, big bang, big bang. This is where we live. It's constant, it's forever fresh. No moment repeats. It lasts that long and it's gone forever. So, you know, well, where do we live in that? The past, the future. We're not living here in that rawness, in that openness, in that directness. Now, you are there. You know, you are there, really. But, you know, we just tend to kind of form this identity around the character of me. So, yeah, over the years then, this kind of awakening has kind of settled down. It's far less cosmic. I'm far, far less interested in practices and things to do. But at the same time, I see this ever shifting kind of growth, different ways of talking about things. And what kind of stands out for me more is, and again this is kind of quite a relief, is that for me it's not that I was suddenly given some information, like, oh, I've got it, like I've got the answer and I can tell everybody the answer. It's the relief that I don't know anything and I don't have to know anything. That's it. For me, that's where I live. Okay? I don't even know who I am. I couldn't even tell you. It's not, you can't put that into words. These words come from the same place that listens to these words. It's the same. That silence, that background, that awareness, that hears the next sound, that feels the next sensation. That's it. So there's not much to talk about. Ikkyu, famous Zen master, said the only language is you don't open your lips. Okay, and I've been blathering away for about 30 minutes now. But you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because you have to share this. You know, this is such a huge heart-expanding experience that there's almost the impulse or the urge to share this message. You know, that you're it. You're okay. You're there. You are it. In a sense, there's nothing to do. Okay. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I guess I'm talking about how ordinary this thing is that we spend our lifetimes looking for. I guess I'm talking about, can we allow ourselves just to drop into it and be as we are without thinking that we need a technique, a practice, a special guru, or that we need to somehow become pure, you know? Can we just drop all that and just be? You know? Can you trust that? Can you trust that you can just rest in that simple being aware and that that's enough? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And the themes of not knowing anything, not having to know anything, you know. So now I'm going to stop talking. And what's nice for me is that when I teach mindfulness, there's a lot of kind of talking and questions and answers and things like that based on mindfulness, which is great. I am interested in any questions or perspectives or reflections on what I'm talking about here today. You know, that this is it. So I just wonder or hope that somebody has a question or something they'd like to ask or maybe hear more about regarding that kind of understanding that actually, in spite of what your mind thinks and wants, this is it. You're in it. Okay? So don't worry, there's always a silence at first.
Did you really watch Strictly?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But this is it. And people say, "Oh, did you actually watch TV, Mike?" And I don't know what world do we live in here where, you know, what are our ideas about mindfulness or spiritual teacher or an awakened person? Like what ideas do we have about that? And we always do. When I've told this story before, but I went to see years ago. I went to see Ramesh Behl, and he was the first enlightened person I'd ever seen. And when I stepped into his room, and I'd come a bit late, and I just got off the train, and the room was just rammed full of people, seekers. And as far as I was concerned, he was glowing with light. I mean, my eyes could see the halo, and I was like, actual halo, you know, wow. But the more I went for about 3 weeks every day, what I noticed was that halo faded. And what he became was a very ordinary old man. But that was his power. That was his awakening. That was his strength. He's just Ramesh. And it was my imposition of the halo, you know, like I wanted to see a holy man. Not really. You know, he's just an old guy. He's just fully human. You don't need an extra halo for that. You are just fully human, you know. So yeah, so we have all these ideas, not just about awakening, but about the people that are awakened. They must be perfect. Now, if you have your eye on the ball to any extent with what's going on with many spiritual teachers at the moment, especially in the Buddhist community, especially in America, there's lots of people messing up, there's lots of abuse, there's lots of things that shouldn't be happening with apparently enlightened people. And you can read their statements, you can read their books, you can hear them give lectures, and you think, wow, that person is incredible. And yet suddenly all this stuff comes up about their behaviour. And, you know, how do you square that? And I don't have an answer for that. Only perhaps that this awakening process doesn't end. And you've always got something to work with. One of the downsides is, and I've certainly been guilty of it, especially in the first blast of this Enlightenment experience, was that there's nothing left to do. Which is true. There's nothing left to do. But what that can also do is allow all of your kind of bad habits, if you like, just to continue unabated because there's nothing left to do. And there's no one here. You know, there's no Mike responsible for them because that didn't exist in the first place. So this behavior can play out and it's like, well, it's just happening. It's just enlightenment. It's just awakening. It's just the universe. I don't need to, you know, step into that or own that behavior because there's nobody here. Which is kind of true. But what I started to realize was that there also is someone here. There is someone called Mike that the universe is creating moment after moment. And Mike feels like this. And Mike has some good habits, but Mike has some bad habits. You know, and that whole structure of being a person is actually extremely fluid and dynamic and changeable, and it's a creativity in itself. So why am I getting stuck in a certain habit when I, as the universe, as the totality, as consciousness, can surely not do that anymore. It's within my power to stop doing that as the universe. So that was a kind of stepping back into being Mike, not refusing that there's someone here, but kind of it's yin and yang. It's both, you are and you are not. You are not, yet you're here sitting on a chair. It's that. That's it. It's bang. That's it. That's what this is. And the mind can't. The mind is, it can't. It's very black and white. That's why all of these teachings have to be a paradox that don't make sense. How can there be nothing to do and yet you carry on doing things? You just get it or you don't get it. And I know people that say, "Oh, Mike, so I understand this, but then, I also understand this as well." And how do you kind of, keep both together? You can't. I don't know. There's no way of, getting someone to do that. You just get it. It's a joke. When you get the joke, you laugh. That's the understanding, So yes, not only do we have very strange ideas about enlightenment and where it lives and how we're going to get it, we also have very strange ideas about the people that represent it, which is still a kind of seeking. I am not worthy, you are worthy, so I'm giving you all the power. Which is why I was never attracted to those teachers that said, "Thank you for giving me all the power. Yes, I have all the power. Now go and do this." Or, I was attracted to the people that said, "I've got nothing. Stand on your own 2 feet." Because even if you don't get enlightened, even if you don't ever get this, if you have the power to stand on your own 2 feet as a human being, that's equal. That's equal. And most of us can't even do that. So I wonder if there's any other kind of ideas or themes or questions that you might have based on kind of what you've heard.
I'm just interested, how do you balance the paradox then of responsibility, living for yourself in the moment? For example, if you're a parent, you are responsible for a child and you can't live in the moment for a child. You have to plan forward. You have responsibilities.
Yeah.
How do you balance that for yourself when you have to give up some of yourself, surely, for the responsibility of a child or a vulnerable person, an elderly person that you have to look after?
So my immediate answer to that, just from my own experience as someone that has 2 children, and someone that has a lot of responsibility, and someone that's just organised a festival, and what I would say is that Mike, the person, can't do that. Like, he can't be stretched 20 ways at once because he'll break. So, I can't be perfect. I can't perfectly be responsible for all these different things. The relief is that I don't have to. I don't have to perfectly manage everything. You want to be completely responsible for your kids, but they're their own people, and they'll find their own way. Just like today, I may have the idea I need to micromanage every talk, every event, but actually that doesn't happen. It just takes off. It does what it does. What I would say, which I have, because I don't know anything, so I can't give you a kind of answer like here's what to do. But what replaces that needing to know is trust. That's all I've got is trust. Which may sound absolutely worthless, like, yeah, but what do you do when the child gets this, or you need to... It just happens. The next moment happens and I deal with it. And then the next moment happens and I deal with it. That's it. That's it. And I remember when I used to live in past and future, I'd be planning ahead, I'd be mulling over the past, that was so much hard work. It was so draining, And especially with children, what's nice is, when you're really present to them, especially at a younger age, they invite you into that space. They invite you into the present moment. We're the ones as adults trying to put a schedule on them, a time span, which they don't get. They don't understand that. They don't know why we're in a rush. They just want to splash around in a puddle or scribble on themselves, and we're the one with the plan in our heads. So it's not an answer. But that's kind of how I experience responsibility, is that The moment pops up, I respond to it. The moment pops up, I respond to it. I trust that there's a response there, but I don't know what that response will be. Sometimes I surprise myself, meaning I do something incredible, or I do something that's, far less skillful than I thought I would come up with. But it's okay, because we're human too, and we fail. And maybe that's the flip side of enlightenment, and destroys the idea of perfection, is that it's about that vulnerability. All the things that we kind of don't think are that powerful: vulnerability, trust, openness, admitting that we're wrong, admitting that we don't know anything. Why are you listening to someone give a talk who's admitting that they don't know anything? All they can do is trust. They have nothing to say. I'm that person. I literally don't know what... I could drop dead right now, and I would be completely open to that possibility. Okay? That's where I live. Okay? So there's that big trust. And it's not a trust like, hope everything goes okay, universe. Yeah, it's me. It's just like, it's wide open. Anything could happen, and often does. Are you ready for that? Because you can stand on your own 2 feet. You can find your ground and be that person that can just be with life. You can be full in that life. You are not limited in the way you think you are. And the only thing that says you have a limit is that mind you have, that voice in your head, that thought that you believe. The whole thing of mindfulness is we're learning how to put all that down. What's left on the chair when you put that down? Just this awareness, this effortless being, effortless knowing. It's big, it's spacious, it's open. It doesn't limit itself. What's your response to that, and then the idea of just kind of trusting and being open and kind of,
I'm obviously not in your space yet. That's why I'm here today.
And you are, and you're not at the same time.
My life is planning.
Yeah.
I can't not plan. So I don't have any responsibilities except for myself. So I feel like I should be in a happier place than I am, because I don't have children. I don't have parents to look after or anything. So I'm just interested from your perspective. You obviously have managed to find this space, and yet you say you have the responsibilities of children, and it's just life responsibilities. I can't see how I can't not be planning forward.
And well, that's really nice, because you have all that energy for yourself, which many of us won't have, because we're all this other kind of stuff happening. But you have all that huge kind of concentration of energy for yourself, and you're here today, and you'll hear lots of talks and workshops all about how you can get the best from yourself, and maybe learn how not to plan so much. And planning's fine. This isn't about not planning, but this is about realizing that it's just a plan. It's just a plan. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you're okay. You'll still be here. It's just a plan. Yeah. Does it make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
And this is the bizarre thing, it's the simplest thing, that this is it. And just to use kind of slightly more religious language, even though I'm not religious, all you'll experience today is it, God, reality, consciousness. All you're looking at right now is it, God, reality, consciousness. That's it. It sounds like this. That's it. It's in your face the whole time. The Sufis say that every moment is the face of God. If you understand that, if you walk around with that in mind today, that every moment is the face of God, then that's going to transform you. Every moment is the face of God. But the Kabbalah, the Jewish Kabbalists, they say something else. They say, which I really love. So on one hand, everything is the face of God. On the other hand, they say, the face of God is dark indeed. So, on one hand, you've got this experience. Okay, experience is reality, consciousness appearing as this, as a chair, as a table, as a feeling, as a thought. All that creativity. But if we try and kind of find where that's coming from, where in my experience is that stuff popping up from, We have to drop backwards to find ourselves. The who. Who's having that thought? Who's looking at that chair? You know, who's having that feeling? You drop backwards. And if you've ever done self-inquiry or deep meditation, you'll know that it's just darkness all the way. There's nothing back there. There's an emptiness. There's a voidness. There's a huge expanse of nothingness, which is so incredibly alive, because that's where the next moment pops up from. That's where the next thought pops up from. But if you drop back, you'll see, yeah, the face of God is dark indeed, because it just goes back. There's just nothing back there. You look this way, you have the whole of reality dancing in front of you. You drop back that way, you get the flip side, which is the nothingness from which every moment pops up from. And that is your common experience. That's not even spiritual. That is the experience of every newborn baby, of every postman, of every person sitting on this chair. Forward, you have the dance of experience. Back that way, silence, stillness, nothingness. And you can explore that. This is the nice thing. This isn't, I have to trust what Mike says. You can explore that. You can drop back. And I'm sure some of the teachers may be doing that with you later today. Drop back. Who's back there? Me. I'm the controller. Show me it. Find it. Grab hold of that controller. So go, got it. Try it. That's the only way you start for yourself realizing that, maybe there's not someone here. Maybe there's not someone here that needs to plan and control and fix and be perfect. Maybe that's just a dream I'm having. Maybe that's just,
But maybe we're just wasting our time here, because I totally agree. Like, you were searching like us for 30 years or whatever, and if your switch wasn't switched on, you wouldn't be standing here being able to speak like this. Now, we can understand your words, but we can't understand how you're feeling. And the universe, I think, is non-judgmental and it's totally fair. But yet it turns your switch on, but it's not turned mine on. And I'm still that person who's trying to find it in so many different ways. But your switch was switched. After trying everything.
Yeah.
When is mine going to be switched? The universe is not, it doesn't discriminate against me or you or anybody else,
But you are in the place where you have just asked, that you're searching for this, you get it, and you're at the place where you're asking, when is my switch going to be switched? You are 1 in a million. You're 1 in 2 million. Maybe you're 1 in a billion. To even have that sense, and to even understand what I'm saying on a conceptual level, okay, yeah, this is God, this is reality, this is it. Okay? So, it may be sooner than you think. Okay? Because this is it, you know it, you trust it. All you can do is stay with that sense that this is it. And when your mind says, no, 10 years in a Himalayan cave,
Yeah, and this is always it for an hour today, or 2 hours today. But then, because our switch wasn't switched, my head's going to come back to where it is tomorrow. Or we're going to the pub tonight, I'm over visiting my sister, I'll have 3 pints more than I should. You know what I mean? And so that's me taking 2 steps forward and 3 back.
But it may not be. There's no right way, there's your way, and what happened to me is just what happened to me, and it was perfect for me. What will happen for you is perfect for you. You can't plan it. This is it, you can't plan it. It's the openness that invites it in. That I don't know. I trust that this is it. I don't know how I'm going to get it. I don't know what it'll feel like, but I trust it. You can be drinking the pints as that happens. There's no special situation for that. And that's another huge thing. But I have to create the right circumstances. It's here. It's ever present. Ever present. You can't step out of it. We're trying to get into it. You can't leave it. You can't step up. The wave cannot not be water. It's always water. I'm going to stop there. Okay. I don't know what time it is, but we're just going to stop. Okay, and let you go. And just take that with you. That maybe this is it. Either you get that directly, you go, yeah, this is it. This is it. Or just that trust that, okay, maybe he's right. Maybe this is it. Maybe I am complete and whole. Okay? Enjoy your day. There's so much going on today. Okay, make the most of it.